heaven's sake, because of certain concern ground the whole city. For heaven's sake, the major and most cosmopolitan road being used by Lagosians was totally granted over an irregular or rational claim. How should Jega resign in less than 14 days to the election? We have less than 2 weeks to the election. How should he resign? So at this point in time, we should be considering asking Jega how far he has done. It's not how far to get out of the office. At this time in time, we should be asking Jega how many of the PVC has been distributed. At this point in time, we'll be asking as the voters' material been distributed to the various electoral headquarters instead of causing commotion at the dying hour of a beautiful season.
Providing arms for militants, it's very hard to take it back from them. Militant, these people are militant. You're supposed to provide arms for them. If you provide, they are like Boko Haram too. Because sometimes now, if you don't give them what they want, they'll be using that gun, that arms to be stealing, to be disturbing everywhere. Is that how to campaign? If they want to campaign that what you have, that somebody would like to vote for you. I want the president to call anybody, to call the OPC leader, to call them to order for providing who is holding gun, who is giving them gun, to serve him. I want the president to probe Gani Adams. If he cannot probe him, that means he is the one that's sending them.
This is E15 and we're counting down to the 2015 general elections. It's 11 days to go, and the visual you just saw earlier is from our newspaper stand earlier today, reacting to the stories we have for you on the program today. I have Tokunbo Ojakunle Onkoti.
Nice for having me. Thanks.
And Jide has changed his seats, but I don't think his position has changed. But Jide,
it's my pleasure, viewers.
And a long-time colleague, journalist, and now a clergy. Takpo Daramola is with us.
I say God bless you.
And I'll say amen to that.
You want to lay hands?
Nice to be on the show.
All right. Yesterday, it was a show of force. Gani Adams, Otumba Gani Adams, promised President Goodluck Jonathan that it was going to give him 6 million votes. And furtherance to that yesterday, they took to the streets and it was chaos and pandemonium from was in Maryland down to Ikorodu Road all through yesterday. Yesterday, Lagos was locked down. Tokunbo, let me start from you.
It was a shameful sight. I must
Shameful.
confess. Very shameful. For the first time, I saw a different Lagos. And I mean it. I'm very serious about that. Because in the first case, you want to go on the street to protest or street to do things. Did you seek permission from the police? You know there are ways of telling you.
They have police protection.
Did they apply for it?
I
Did
don't
they
know, maybe
apply
they applied
for it? Right, that's what we have to first ask ourselves, okay? Secondly, true, they're free to express themselves in whatever form. But as you see, you felt the respondents on a very tight and interesting topic earlier before this program started. And one of them made a very pungent point. If at all it's a personal opinion, he felt, hey, come, is that what we should be talking about now? You want Jega removed. What has he done? Over what and what? So it's one that goes on and on. And another thing is, it almost ended in fisticuff, serious battle. Because in the heat of it, reports we heard said
that's a match.
some people were suddenly gathering themselves, momentum, to come into this force to attack. But for the police who were around, if the police had not been there, something else might have happened in Lagos yesterday.
But Jide, these people, they have a right to express concern and support for whoever they want to support. Yes. But what's the hue and cry about this?
The hue and cry largely has to do with the manner they carried out their procession. It's strange to see people who are not soldiers, who are not policemen, openly brandishing assault weapons on our roads. We saw them, brandishing guns and ammunition in broad daylight. In a country where we want people to believe that there is respect for law and order. Definitely, this was the attitude that the OPC members. Naturally, it wasn't a rally for OPC members alone, but the OPC members, the Gani Adams OPC, led the procession. And it was a show of force because they were brandishing guns in broad daylight. You must have seen pictures of these guys carrying guns, and they had military escort.
Mensa.
Yes. The policemen and soldiers guiding them, meaning that even if you wanted to attack them, the police could open fire on you, or the military could open fire on you. So Lagosians were terrified because look, they took complete control of a section of the road.
On a Monday morning.
You know, and even people going on their lawful duties, you know, going to work on the other lane were being harassed. And then they were tearing down posters of the rival party, the All Progressives Congress. So if you want to canvass support for Jonathan, there's nothing bad about it. He's your candidate. That's the person you want to see win the election. But you can't do that by making life difficult for other people. Because your rights, you should know that your rights are not limitless. So that is what they have done that many Lagosians found difficult to take yesterday. And the traffic gridlock that they caused stretched right up to like 8 or even 9 p.m. You know, because the roads...
because once a section is affected in Lagos, every other
Lagos, once traffic gridlock affects the Ikorodu road, you can be sure that it will affect every part of Lagos. Everywhere. So that was what happened yesterday. And the reality is, look, even the APC as we speak is divided over the conduct of Gani Adams. Because look, some other guys from within the union have called a press conference denouncing Gani Adams. And I know a little bit about the OPC. Some of the elements who called the press conference, you know, belong to the military wing of the OPC. So the greatest fear that I have is that if care is not taken, we'll witness the sort of bloodletting that happened, you know, between factions of the group. When Gani Adams faction, yes, intra-OPC, or what you can call OPC on OPC bloodletting, you know, whereby those loyal to Gani Adams were attacking loyalists of Dr. Fashion. And if that happens, it will be too bad. It took Gbenga Daniel to broker peace between these two people. But now, we are looking at maybe a potentially even bigger crisis with what happened yesterday.
Definitely.
Dapo?
I mean, I'm just going to take it up from where Jide stopped, because I'm going to align with my two colleagues here. Clearly, the last thing you mentioned, the OPC versus OPC, crisis that we had, I would have been a victim. And that's why I said I'm going to start from a personal story, personal angle. While the crisis lasted, of course, I was already a journalist. And I wasn't covering what was going on. I was only going to church on the Sunday. And some of them were coming, I think the Gani Adams faction, were coming looking for the Fashion faction around my house in Mushi then. And while that was, I saw about 7 or 8 guys, brandishing just what we saw yesterday. Wielding guns, and the next thing I exclaimed in Yoruba language, how can guys be going about the streets with guns like this? I think they had me, and they turned back, and the next thing they began to hit me. They hit me to the point they told me to kneel down, and then pointed about 4, barrels, on my head, and they were going to blow my head off. But eventually, divine intervention, something came upon them, and they said they should let me go. I took the phone, I called the PRO of the APC, as at that time, the one I knew. OPC. I think his name was Bankole. OPC. Well, OPC, yes.
Okay, the PRO.
The PRO was at that time.
Okay.
So I called him, and I'm like, this is what just happened, and I'm going to unleash the media on them, because this is madness. He apologized, even Dr. Fasio at that time called to apologize and all that. But that is the madness I've been seeing for many years now. Like one of those respondents said, the moment you arm militants, you never know where it's going to stop. Yeah. The Taliban today were those guys who fought on behalf of the American government and other governments around the world
Against
to
Russia.
ensure against the Russians and many others. Today, they have
Yeah,
become a thorn in the flesh.
Deep-rooted.
They have spiraled out of what they were, and they have become a big monster that the world now cannot even contain. So here we are, OPC, and we remember very well, some years ago, what was part of the problem. When government Tompolo was giving about $1 billion or more to monitor the pipelines and all that, they felt they also should be given the same amount of money to monitor the pipelines down the southwest. And then that brought problem, and so they were not able to give a particular faction. Who do we deal with? Do we deal with the fashion faction, or we deal with
No,
the
I think
Ghanaian
they've
faction?
settled that now.
But now that seems to have been, they've crossed our hurdle. So, and that is what you saw. But my point is, you can say that the lockdown, when APC did their own, there was lockdown. When PDP did their own, there was lockdown. So even if the person is protesting and there's lockdown, there may not be a problem. But wielding gun in daylight and then having the backing of the security forces, who are supposed to question them, where do you have the license to brandish gun, to even carry the weapon in the first
It was
place?
shameful.
So when you see the security force, that tells you
Looking
that
the other
those who are
side.
talking about Ekiti Gate, they know what they are saying. Whether we have found it to be true or not, whether we are processing, analyzing what we had, what we saw yesterday is a confirmation that something like that possibly happened. Because if the security forces, who are meant to protect the citizens, will sit by and begin to watch people who ought not to carry weapons are carrying weapons, there's a problem. So, like Gina said, we should be worried. If we have this amount of weapons in the southwest, we are worried about what is going on in the northeast and other parts of the north. But if we have this amount of weapons in the southwest, then there's a big problem. How do we solve the problem is what we should be looking at.
Dapo, a good one from Dapo there. Tokumbo, looking at the way forward now, because I don't know, maybe they've approved their contracts, the pipeline, security, monitoring, whatever for the Odua People's Congress. But it is illegal for anybody to carry arms except if it's registered and everything. And we are not sure that everybody carrying that brought out arms yesterday, that they are all registered or they have the documents for it. Now, the APC today came out to condemn that and told us that all their billboards and all their posters and everything were destroyed yesterday along Ikorodu Road, and that it was targeted directly at them. What do you make of this?
Ayo, definitely it was political. It was politically motivated. For example, Adams himself said they had given the president their word that so number of votes they will supply. It's a political structure development fight. It's a fight that they have just started. What I am going to say is this. It is a foreplay of what we are going to see in the next few weeks. And it frightens me again that is happening in Lagos. It's a big shame, and I'm going to be very open with this, because I believe that the government of Lagos as well also needs to begin to see that they need to put up the zipper and put up the saddle, because this fight is definitely just beginning. Away from that, Ayo, if you move with their submission over time, what they have tried to say and what they've tried to do, they have tried to say to you people, to us definitely in Lagos, that whether you like it or not, this is where we're placing our camp. If they are taking a peaceful walk yesterday and they had not destroyed or pulled down any banner or destroyed any icon or emblem or representation of another party, so to speak, then you would have said probably they had a slightly good intention at the end of the day. But they're putting down those structures and those representations.
I wanted to point out that I saw the rally in Lagos State, the APC rally the weekend, and I monitored it, and I saw that they just went past all the billboards. I saw the billboards of Jimmy Agbaji and everything. Nobody pulled down anything.
No, they wouldn't pull down.
It went like that. It was just a walk on a Saturday, and they gave 3 days notice.
By the way.
Last man gave 3 days notice.
That's right.
Yes. Gave a prior notice that there's going to be this walk. Please reschedule your movement between the hours of 8 a.m. to 2 p.m.
That's order.
3 days before that.
That is organization. But it tells you this. I'm serious, and I mean this. OPC has behaved in a disgraceful manner. Absolutely. The police and the law enforcement that have gathered them to express this unlawful act and protected them also have a share of the blame. I think, honestly, to close up on my submission, that I said it is a foreplay of what we might expect to see in the next few weeks. So it's not too late now to guard our loins, for the government to guard its loins and ensure that the lives of the people are well secured. It is frightening. It is frightening. For every of the fabric we go in Lagos, there are OPC members everywhere. They guard gates, they guard houses, they guard streets, they guard even the bedrooms and the sitting rooms. They also guard banks. They work for banks these days, institutions and blue chip companies. They are everywhere. And it's just for a time bomb to explode. And we are beginning to see the signs. I think it is extremely shameful.
Jude, do you share his sentiments?
Yeah, of course. This is not the sort of submission that I would disagree with. What the APC put on show yesterday is, to say the least.
OPC?
I mean, OPC. You know, what the OPC put on show, yes, the similar acronym, is, to say the least, reprehensible. You see, Gani Adams wants to impress Mr. President. And yesterday, he put on a show that I'm sure his principal must be really, really proud of. Because, you know, the president, even when the president came here, he sees Lagos as the headquarters of the Buhari campaign. You know, the political heavy hitters in Lagos are the ones that have made Buhari such a formidable candidate that he is now. And they are worried. Remember when the president came here to campaign? Because he was coming to Lagos. He was oversight. He was oversight, you know, for the rally. And clearly, if he had been subjected to a test, you know, the sort of test that the Americans do for you. If you drive your car in a strange way and you have an accident, they first do that test for you to the DUI test. If we had administered that test on Mr. President,
so that's,
I can swear by all the gods in Nigeria
that is not just
that he will have tested positive. Because look, and after that, the way he was screaming that day, some of the things he said here, he didn't repeat in subsequent campaigns. Because it was clear
his handlers
to his handlers that, look, Mr. President,
this is not it.
You know? So the kind of things he was saying, when you said, look, we are spent. So why do you want power? If you have admitted that your generation has failed, and that we are spent, a man who is not up to 60 saying that he's spent.
Used.
You know? Yeah. So the reality is, that's to tell you how they see Lagos. They see Lagos as a territory to be conquered. And whatever will make it possible for them to conquer Lagos, they are going to do it, because this is a man who is not ready to lose this election. You know, when I talk to some of my friends, especially those of them in the APC, they are extremely cocky about this election. And because a lot of them are overconfident, there are certain things that they ought to take seriously that I'm afraid they are not taking seriously. You know, the president will do anything. Will do anything, even if it means setting people against one another, to ensure that he retains his position. And we are seeing it. That's exactly what the OPC guys and the other supporters of President Jonathan did yesterday. That's exactly what they did. That look, when they see this crowd, and they see this crowd with their guns and all that, they will know that yes, we mean business. You know, so that's the thing.
Dapo, on the other hand, these people are asking for the sack of Professor Atahiru Jega. You know, just 11 days to the election. I don't know. Who does that?
For me, everybody who has been asking for this sack, they are questionable characters. I mean, the last one we had was from the Masob leader, who said, and he read a very annoying paper. I mean, the address was simply, shambolic, because there's no substance. I mean, you keep talking about, you address the issue to the REC. If you have any issue with PVC collection, go to the REC or go to the state headquarters. The state headquarters.
Somebody was even asking me that if MASOB is the movement for the actualization of the sovereign state of Biafra,
so
what is their problem with the Federal Republic of Nigeria?
So you begin to work, and even OPC, what they are saying
OPC
is that
has always been against Abuja.
An Odua agenda.
Yeah, it's a self-determination.
The OPC has always been against Abuja.
Exactly.
But
so
now the OPC we have
now is,
that we saw on parade yesterday is gravitating towards
absolutely
Abuja.
Gine, let's just check out the historical perspective of this.
Absolutely.
The OPC sprang up after the June 12 crisis, after the annulment of June 12, and to fight for
as a
the Yoruba, the Yoruba interest.
And suddenly,
they had a theme.
The interest is now a federal agenda, and that is what if you ask me, I don't have evidence of money exchanging hands. But because we're in the age of
come on,
but because we're in the age but because we're in the age of incentivism, they possibly were incentivized.
Of course,
It could be a speech from the president, because we have had that ordinary handshake from the president can motivate an athlete.
Yes.
So I mean, if we heard that it can motivate. So it's possible. Whatever transpired in that state house, whatever in Manila, whatever happened there, we've seen the result. But my worry is this. In addition, is that what this is also sending, the signal is sending, is that you may have voters apathy.
Yes.
Because if I want to vote, or I'm planning to vote, and the picture you are showing me are guys who are ready to shoot. Because the only reason why you bring out a gun is either to scare me or to kill me. That is the clear message. So what you are saying invariably is that if you do not vote, Mr. President, because I had Madam President saying yesterday, I mean, the impatience in Ekiti, that APC will soon change their name to Ebola. And I wonder how you can condescend to that point and begin to address an organization wishing them such ill luck, which is death. Ebola was equal to death if it's not properly managed. The same thing the woman said, that APC has become more like a cancer, that anybody who supports or votes for APC, I mean, if the thing is played back, we can hear it, will die. That's the language you use.
You said APC is an expired drug.
Expired drug, that if you use it, if you vote for them, you will die.
Remember what we were talking about, the old drug.
Absolutely.
Analgesic.
Exactly. So you can understand the trend that, like Jide said, and TK said, it's gone beyond elections. Even in America, that we copy when we decide when we feel it's best to relate with them. The elections were heated, yes, but not to the level where somebody is wishing the other person dead.
Yes.
So that's where I'm worried. Now that you have guys who are brandishing guns, gun-wielding men, then there's a problem. So, and that's why I said it must be addressed. We could have 11 days, but we must begin to ask very serious questions.
Okay.
Because we may have voters' apathy.
D'accord, let me quickly take this breather, and when we come back, we'll discuss about Army Not Empowered to Monitor polls by Professor Atahiru Jega. Yesterday, the Independent National Electoral Commission had a forum, and Professor Jega said a lot of things. When we come back, we'll see it.